I'm back. Jack is back. For those who might be new here, this is the game I am making called 2 to 3 Business Days, a 3D co-op platformer where you play as a box that was left behind, but you were determined to deliver yourself on time. I've managed to finish a handful of tasks, but before I go through them, the reason there was such a large gap between devlogs, possibly, I don't know when this is going to be finished, maybe I can grind it out quickly, is because I did a lot of traveling. I went to Florida for the first time visiting a friend, then I drove all the way back to New York, then went to New Jersey, Connecticut, and New York City, which all ate up about 2 weeks of my time. I know it's not exactly related to my game, other than the fact that it stopped me from working on it for a while, but I had a lot of fun traveling. I went down to Cocoa, Florida, and it was such a beautiful area. I went to the Kennedy Space Center Museum, and it was really cool and worth the very high ticket price. Florida's a cool state, and I see why everyone always goes there in the winter. But winter's still a goated season. I don't care what anyone says. Now, for what I've actually done, I spent a fair amount of time making new animations, polishing them up as much as I could. Few I ended up not using, and there's a few I haven't even implemented yet, being animations for holding items and animations for the spring mode. No one's gonna notice the changes probably, as they're sort of subtle, but they're better, trust me. I have added partial controller support. The things that don't work yet is that they still don't work in the UI, and I've been struggling with supporting PlayStation controllers, which I was not expecting to give me trouble. I don't know why it just randomly chooses whether to work or not, but it's pretty frustrating. And I made proper name tags for players, nothing special really, just something I did. I have also added destructible objects into the game because breaking things is just fun. After getting situated with Unreal's Chaos Destruction plugin, I was able to get it working fairly quickly, but realized that for cases such as this crate, it needs to be modeled in a way so that it's explicitly hollow. After remodeling it, though, it worked out pretty well. Though I had an issue where the broken pieces, after it broke apart, still had collision, and it bothered me since the player could get stuck in them. Update, so I tried a new method of setting the collision, and I've completely broken the engine.
Later.
Alright, so I got the engine back open. So, if you are working with chaos objects and you want to update the collision, do not set it to probe only. Do not do this.
One eternity later.
Alright, so I pretty much got it figured out. So here we go. We're gonna destroy him, and look, see, I'm walking right through it, pretty much. There's still a little bit, but it's you don't get stuck on them now. So I don't care that you like sort of step up a little bit. So I found this solution on the Unreal Engine forums. So on the Chaos Break event, get the index and add it to integer array. That's your bone IDs that will go into the set per particle collision profile name. And all I did was in the project settings, I created a new, if I can scroll down, I created a new preset or collision profile of destructible and ignore pawn. It's the exact same thing as the destructible one, just it ignores pawns. So yeah, this is I got it working. You can break them and you can walk through them. You don't get stuck on them now. Sweet. Then I created a simple dialogue system. I loved doing this part because it only had to be client side. It didn't need to be replicated or anything. I've never really made multiplayer games before this project, but I now know that making multiplayer actually kinda sucks. So not having to worry about any of that was great. It wasn't very difficult either, as I already had an interaction system, so I was able to just build it off of that. I've made plenty of dialogue systems before, though I feel like my implementation this time is a little odd, but it's very simple and works for what I need it to do. This is the entire system right here, pretty much. This is the entire system. because you just keep calling, even though it says create dialogue widget, you just keep calling it repeatedly and it'll go through everything all on its own. You don't got to do anything. So with it, we check if we have a camera view desired for that NPC interaction. If we do, set the camera. If not, don't give a fuck. And we check whether or not the God, shut up. Be quick about it. Basically, the struct contains an array of text for each dialogue line and integer indices for if we want to move the camera along the spline or not and when to return it. The player controller controls it all by keeping track of what index of the text array we are on, so I can just repeatedly call the one function every time the player presses the interact button, and it determines what to do based on the index and whatnot. It's kind of inflexible, but it only has to handle simple in-level interactions with NPCs. Any more complex stuff will be made with the whole sequencer system. So I've been thinking that I want some form of character customization. It's partly due to that besides the name tags, the player models are all the same, and I want another way to help differentiate between players. I had an idea I thought was cool, which was some way of applying stickers to your character, so you could sticker bomb your character if you wanted to. However, I haven't really been able to get it working. I think it is because of the methods I'm using, but I'm not really sure yet of other ways I can approach it. I've been attempting to do this with decals, the same thing that FPS games generally use for bullet holes or wounds on characters. And I mean, it kinda worked. The issue though was that it didn't map well to the mesh and often became distorted or projected weird. Then I had the issue of when spawning them onto the character in the actual level, it was hard to get them in the right position, and with the current camera distance, you can't even really see them. So I wanted to bring this up and ask if you think I should attempt to keep working on getting the sticker customization working. Maybe someone watching knows of a better way I can do this with. Maybe I don't need character customization. I figured if I scrap this, it's probably just gonna be like a little colored piece of tape on the box's head to indicate like different players, or potentially just creating skins since it would be easier for me to implement. They would just be collectible skins that you can find throughout levels and equip. Another feature I've been tinkering with is a sort of dismemberment effect. The thought of what would happen to a box person if they got hit with something came into my mind while I was working on the game, and I figured that logically they would probably break apart and tumble like a box does, which I was kind of able to get working. There's still an issue with triggering it as it doesn't register sometimes. I wanted to cause the player to break apart and then rebuild themselves. I haven't started working on the rebuilding side of the effect yet though. So I have been struggling with it. I tried a few approaches. The one that has worked the best was hiding the player model and spawning in physics object versions of the player limbs in their place. This worked pretty well once I sorted out the collision issues, but it still has an issue with clients spawning in the wrong amount of physics objects. I also reworked the field generator ability. One main issue I had was spawning one below yourself during a ground pound had a bit of a learning curve. Once you got the hang of it, it wasn't too hard, but I wanted to lessen that curve a bit. You can still shoot it normally, but what I did was tweak it a little bit so you can now charge up the projectile. Once you've met the threshold, you can spawn in a vertical wall, which you can wall jump off of, or if you ground pound with it fully charged up, it will automatically spawn one beneath you. This gets rid of you needing to time the use perfectly. Bugs I have fixed since last time. The ledge grab would work weird for clients, where when you jumped up from the ledge, it would keep applying force upwards, letting you fly. The digitizer ability would spawn items improperly, causing the server and clients to be out of sync on what objects have been spawned or despawned. When standing on another player's head, the control rotation would be changed when the bottom player moved, causing the movement directions for the top player to be rotated, which I actually discovered that was the reason the control rotation kept getting rotated from editing this video when I was playing back the footage. So I'm editing through this video and I was fucking right. The control rotation gets fucked up when you're on top of someone and they move.
Almost.
When I move,
I'm not
And then he
great at
gets off
platformers,
me.
Jack.
I can tell. I can tell.
Also, my controls just got fucked up.
There it is. See? As well as some other non-fatal errors the engine was throwing at me. Bugs I currently remember need to be fixed. The bouncing in spring mode will randomly stop. Equipping and dequipping abilities is buggy as hell. The dismemberment effect spawns the wrong amount. And yeah, I guess I'm either amnesiac or just awesome at programming if that's all I have to fix though. Well anyway, thank you for watching my video. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and all that. It will really help this channel. Let's see. I gotta finish the first level, which is taking a while because I need to model and texture all the assets. But now that I'm done traveling and done with other things, I am free and I'm gonna grind out as much as I can this next month. After that, I'll probably get around to setting up the Steam store page, among other things that I want to add. Alright then. Jack out, I guess. Or jack off. Whoa!